let's get started. So, um, there's obviously been some issues with this game. I mean, I wouldn't say they're necessarily terrible, but I do think it's like hurting the game a little bit. So, this is kind of what I've been thinking for the past while. It's like, and I just want to kind of people like to put it out there and have people discuss it. And it's something I often hear both sides of the spectrum of like gun versus spirit. And oftentimes, when it comes to this argument, it's obviously split between a lot of the ELO stuff as well. So in lower ELO, a lot of people will complain about, oh, gun is so OP, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, there's actually a lot more counters to gun characters than there are to spirit characters. There might actually be the same amount, but I think what people are trying to get at is like, they kind of want more counters to them. And I think part of the issue is the fact that it comes from the issue of having spirit resilience. Spirit resilience is quite bad. But I'm gonna just go through this whole forum post and one by one. And yeah. So this is something I do believe where it's like I often hear both sides of the spectrum, gun versus spirit, and which is stronger. And this is always like from a coaching perspective or watching stream. Um and I believe that like every character, like building spirit or weapon is like a really cool concept for the game, and I think that they really should try and lean into this concept a lot more. But the way that they do it, or that the way that they're doing it, is I think a little bit unhealthy with how the spirit like the investments kind of are coming along. I don't mention that in my post, but I do say the 4.8k spirit spike is quite unhealthy for the game. And the reasoning for this is it allows a lot of characters to have better lanes than they should. So for one instance, like Viper, it has probably the best lane in the entire game and has the ability to one-shot people the moment they get the spike. Same thing with Mina and Vindicta as well. So these three characters I think abuse it one of the hardest. And I was trying to like if they want to keep it 4.8k spike, I think that a suggestion would be is that they should make it a global change to the base ability damage. This being said, is for them to for the characters to want to do more spirit damage, they have to invest in it a little bit more. And this might not be like this might just be like a band-aid fix in a sense, but there's also like the big issue of how often you have to buy like spirit resilience versus how often you have to buy bullet resilience as well. Almost every game, I'm always thinking, oh, when do I have to get spirit resilience? And I'm never thinking that about bullet resilience at all. And that might just be just because like metal skin exists and all those other things. But I do think having the ability for characters to one-shot anyone on the map, pretty much, the moment they invest 4.8k in spirit, is quite unhealthy. Especially since like a lot of characters who have bad or who should have bad early games have fantastic ones just due to this. Like Viper has a great late game, has the ability to like pretty much just beam down anyone in the game just by sliding and like shooting their gun. But has a like one of the best early games in the game. So it's like it almost feels like there's no point in the game where Viper is like bad. And I don't whenever like I see these characters in MM, I'm like, okay, hopefully the people are good on them. But in a turns MM, like people are often decent on these characters and will like do well on them. Like they might not be meta, but they're definitely like very very strong and probably some of the strongest laners in the game as of these patches right now. I did make this post before the update came out, but I don't think much has changed since there hasn't really been many balance changes. I do think Vindicta is a little bit stronger now with the lightning scroll change. They shadow buffed, where she can put lightning scroll on the snipe now. But yeah, like I don't think characters should have the ability to one-shot, and I think there has to be a lot of outplay potential for certain things. And part of the issue is because people often don't get spirit resilience until maybe close to like 20k into the game. And that means that these spirit characters have pretty much free reign of the game for the first like 20 minutes of the game. And I think that's okay. I don't think that's bad. I think spirit should be better early than late. But I think it's how strong they are or how strong they get like super early into the game. I'm pretty sure Vindicta with the 4.8k spike literally will one-shot you if you're below half HP. So maybe even increasing it to like 7.2k or something. This gives people some time to at least get some of their power spikes and have some counterplay. This also does mean that people have to invest in it a little bit more to even do damage. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying with the base hero damage. I will say though, someone did make a comment where they said abilities in the early game base damage are balanced around gun. The normal character can do more than 60 DPS with their gun, so abilities need to be better than that within their cast time to even be worth using. I do agree with this comment. However, I was saying that I do think spirit characters should have to invest into their abilities to get damage. So by me saying that, I mean like at 7.2k or 4.8k, or even if they buy spirit, it's still relatively the same. It's just they are forced to buy those items rather than just having insane base damage. Like for example, Viper, the base damage on her lethal venom is quite high, even without any spirit damage. I think it's something close to like 150 or something. And it's on a pretty short cooldown too. And even the screw jab. Screw jab is 75 base damage plus 25 pretty much per screw jab. And that's quite good for poke. And it's on a low cooldown too. But then the issue with gun comes in. Gun is in a very weird spot right now because a lot of the M1s actually have to invest into spirit. So for example, like Viscous, Viper, Mina, Warden, like Warden, Viscous are the two exceptions to this right now. But like Viper, Mina, Wraith, Mirage, Seven, like a lot of them have to invest into spirit in order to do damage, and thus like further forcing people to buy more like spirit resilience. So one of these things is like the issue is that the good M1s in the game right now also have really good lanes. And I'm a firm believer that gun characters or characters that you want, like design-wise, if they are going to be a main carry, need to be bad early. Because otherwise, they're just going to be super strong throughout the entire game, and then what's stopping them from just taking over the game throughout the entire, like, throughout it? So, for example, like Ward and Viscous have some of the best lanes and pair really well with other strong laners. So, like Warden is like would pair well with Vindicta, for example, with Stake and Cage. And then Viscous just has some of the best poke in the game and a pretty good gun to follow it up with his alt fire. And whatever. Viper, another one, like strong burst character, has the ability to one shot. Same thing with Mina. Mina has a great sustain as well with her rake. Like she's just can farm a camp, a small camp, and she gets all her HP back. Yeah, this might be with other issues within those characters, but I don't think there's really a standard M1 progression right now that's like being set. I think part of this issue though is due to the fact that bullet resilience or the item is really, really bad. No one really ever buys this item at all. And if they do, I'm almost thought that, like, I almost think that they're trolling almost, because like there's it's not really providing anything. Like, if they ever buy this, like, okay, cool, like, there's armor piercing rounds, just another awkward item. But, like, this just prevents it from really doing anything. So it's a counter to a counter item. And I think Metal Skin is, like, Metal Skin is, like, quite well designed. Like, you pretty much become impervious to all bullets. And the only counter to it is Curse. But, I mean, Curse is also just an OP item in general. So it kind of becomes like a rock paper scissors situation, which is fine for the game. But by progression, I'm mainly talking about the items. The 1600 items on gun are quite weird, and there's not really many good options for it. There's like maybe Fleetfoot or Swift Striker, but a lot of times people often resort to buying the 800s and then immediately jumping to something in the 3200. And I don't think that's that great for the 1600 items. Like, I want to see opening rounds being purchased more. And I want to see, like, maybe Mystic Shot. Mystic Shot is mainly for spirit characters, yes, which I think is fine. But, like, slowing bullets is another severely underused item right now, and I don't think it's that great. I think the concept of it is fantastic. I love how, even though it doesn't build into anything, maybe you could build it into something. Maybe it might be worth buying at that point. But yeah, like, a lot of people will just go, like, rapid rounds plus monster rounds, and then Tesla bolts for Wraith, or even Cultist Sacrifice, or something. And that's pretty much based because the 1600 items don't have much of a value. Other than maybe, like, a few items or some niche cases on some characters. I think there should be more of, like, a progression. It's like, okay, I want to buy rapid rounds, and then, like, I want to buy Swift Striker, but then, like, oh, now that I have Swift Striker, like, I'm more inclined to buy another 1600 item. Like, oh, here's opening rounds. Like, opening rounds will help my early game damage, and it also gives me a little bit of spirit to have my abilities do a little bit more damage. And that's kind of like the concept around it. But none of these items are really being bought. And I think that's part of the issue. So maybe they're either too weak, or maybe the 3200 items are just too strong. And the other issue is there's not many characters that actually have a gun that does damage. And that, at least in the early game. And I'm okay with this, but if they want gun to be viable, I think they have to increase the bullet growth on characters and nerf the base damage. Because Ward and Viscous right now are like the top M1s in the game. And both of them have fantastic guns in the early game and do quite a lot of damage with them. And yes, Viscous has the alt fire to help with that, but Warden's base bullet damage just chunks people's for HP. And he has one of the best scaling in the game. Well. This is kind of a solution for bullet resilience. And the thing about this is, I think there should be more abilities in the game that scale with weapon damage. This also will help people, or entice people to buy those 1600 items. Like, I want to see more things like Crackshot, where Crackshot scales with spirit, but maybe things like Crackshot where it scales with weapon damage or something, and it amplifies it. Like, Paradox Carbine is one of those things, but it does spirit damage rather than, or it uses weapon damage and then transfers it into spirit damage. We could have more things like that, and I think that'd be really good for the game. And I think having those things, it might entice people to buy more, like, bullet resilience rather than anything else. Because you could have it still go through things like plated armor or, like, maybe even metal skin, for example, because metal skin's for bullets. So that way, like, you can at least still do damage to those characters, and maybe metal skin isn't as strong anymore because right now only gun damage in the game is like melee and weapon and gun damage. and I don't think that's that great for the game. So I would like to actually see more things that scale with weapon damage. Maybe even it's like you build spirit items and it converts to weapon damage. I think that'd be like cool, like crackshot. Like crackshot was one of those things, and I think that would be like awesome. Like it'd be so weird to have a bunch of like a spirit character run around and doing weapon damage. So it's like I think that'd be really awesome for the game. Um, and moving on to the carries, I think this is a big thing for it. I assume heavy melee counts in that category as well. Yes, it does. It does. Like heavy melee and melees all do weapon damage, but because of the parry mechanic, they don't really matter as much because you can just parry it. So the only reliable version for weapon damage right now is essentially just your gun. And I don't think that's that great for the game. Yeah. So moving on to the carries, many M1s are building their spirit investment first. And I think this is kind of an issue because what this is doing is one, it's helping their lane a lot. So like the characters like Mirage or Wraith, their lanes become way better, which I mean is fine for the game. But I don't think it's healthy in the sense that they are M1s, they're carries, and by having the spirit investment be that early, they're able to invest in it and have a good lane earlier into the game, meaning that they're able to do more stuff early into the game. And I think there's someone in the Dota community who made a video on it, and they pretty much made it so they were talking about like how carries um, have kind of like that curve that where they exponentially get better and better into the game as they get more farm. And I think that's how kind of how Deadlock should be. Uh, but then at a certain point as well, they need to have something that allows characters to get to that point, or at least the carries to get to that point. Because right now, a lot of the time, people are just drafting for lane, and then they'll stomp lane, steal all the farm on the map, and then the game's over in like 25 minutes. So picking someone who's super late game sometimes isn't even that reliable. But then again, it can be something that is viable in the sense where a lot of the games do tend to go a little bit later now due to all the changes that they've done with the map, and I think that's good for the game. But pre-patch, I think that would be it was more of an issue. I think now the games are going a little bit later due to the new base changes and how uh, shrines and the patron kind of fight back a little bit stronger. And then there's also the immunity when people are infighting in the mid or in the patron. And I think that's good. The games do go on a little bit longer, which kind of makes it so carries do get to scale a little bit stronger into the game. Um, but yeah, I don't think characters should be super reliant on their spirit investment to get it to like actually get something going in their game. I think there should be viable gun options as well to help them farm. And I think there's only really two in the game right now that help with that. And that's Cultist Sacrifice. Well, I guess if you count three, if you count Monster Rounds. There's Monster Rounds, Cultist Sacrifice, and Tesla Bullets for quote unquote early game farming. Yeah. Item, like, this is kind of what I was talking about though with the 1600 items. Items such as long range, opening rounds, slowing bullets, split shot, and the melee charge aren't that great at the moment. No one's really buying them. Maybe some people are buying opening rounds. Maybe some people are buying slowing bullets. Maybe long range. I don't see split shot that much, and I think this is very much a gimmicky item where I think it's really only used on like Page and maybe like Ray Talon now. I think like there's T-Bird out there who does split shot Viper still. And then melee charge is really, I find, I've never seen this item anymore in high elo. Or if I do, I'm like, they're trolling. And the only other character that might buy this is Abrams. The other issue is, like I said before, is for people that almost always buy Spirit Resilience at some point in the game. In every game, this will almost always happen. And I literally never see Bullet Resilience in the game. It's never purchased. I rarely see the item, and if I do see it, I'm often questioning the player's thought process of why it was good. Usually now, there's other items in the game that you can buy that provide bullet resilience to a similar extent. Like, for example, Abrams doesn't buy it, but they'll go Metal Skin plus maybe duration extender. And what this will do is it pretty much controls on like it pretty much just controls like all their bullet resilience for the game. And Metal Skin just makes it so that that person shooting at them just doesn't do any damage to them for 5 seconds. And by that point, the fight is already over. That carry's probably already dead. And I don't think that's super healthy. I think bullet resilience should have a place in this game, and right now it's not being purchased at all. Another part of the issue is, I think, frontline. Frontline is quite strong. I'm pretty sure it's almost always banned early in pro play. Like Billy, Abrams, Yamato, Shiv. Like Victor is the only exception, but I think with the new items he might be seen more again. And that's kind of an issue. A lot of the frontline do way too much damage. And I'm thinking this might be due to the investment stats. A lot of it. I'll see like an Abrams rush their gun spike first, for example, and they're just able to like 3-shot me in lane. And that's not like that. That's not great. Like Moan Krill doesn't do nearly as much damage. But what he does is he does provide utility for his team. Like Sandblast prevents guns from shooting. Burrow makes him tanky enough and kind of can disrupt them. His Scorn, I guess, is his only state of survival pretty much. Other than maybe Burrow resistances. And then his ultimate. His ultimate is just there to pick someone off and focus them. And I think he's a well-designed character in that sense. And I think that's how frontline should be. Like, I'll see a Mo and I'll feel scared because oftentimes there's going to be someone else with him to back him up. A Mo by himself, it shouldn't be that scary. But a Mo with someone else should be scary. And I think that should be said for all frontline. Like, frontline right now, like, is able to 1v1 the carry. And I think for the frontline being able to 1v1 a carry in the late game is not that healthy for the game. I think the carry, unless, like, it really relies on the carry to play it perfectly in order to get enough value or to pretty much melt the front line. But yeah, they're like literally Abrams, I'm pretty sure, is able to like 3-shot a carry at any point in the game right now. And the same goes for like characters like Shiv. Shiv has a 22% execute. So if he's just in front of them, gets like a dash, gets a few knives on them, that carry's dead before they're even able to kill him. And part of this issue, I think, is based off the amp. There's some sort of amp damage on every front line. Like, Shiv has the rage amp. Abrams has the gun damage after pinning a target. Billy gaining weapon damage for landing is 2. And then there's also amp on his blasted. Victor increasing the damage characters can take on tier 3. And I think this is probably the best version of it, by the way. He has to invest 8 points in it, and it's not something good early, because if he does do this, then he himself is dealing more damage to himself without being able to outdamage. And this is like, and I think this is like allowing tanks to be able to carry the game while being tanky and like unkillable, like even when they have like 2+ characters shooting at them. And I don't think it's healthy for the game at all. Like, if they are going to do something like this, I do think they have to invest more into damage items. So you have to pretty much make tanks have the ability, or like have to think about buying damage items over tank items in order for them to be tanky. And although I'm saying all of this, I think tanks should have a threat, some sort of threat. Like Abrams' charge is a threat. Mo grab is a threat. Like, I don't know if Shivs technically should be considered a frontline, but he's just a threat. Just his presence is just a threat. Like a few knives, a dash is gonna kill someone, and then a reset on his ult is just kind of crazy. And if the tanks have no threat presence or like no presence at all, there's not a real reason to look at them. So I do think they should have some sort of threat. But right now they're so much of a threat that everyone is picking these characters first before picking their like carry, for example. Or like their spirit carry or something. And yeah, so this is this is kind of just the forum post, and I'm just talking about my thoughts of this. Like, there's a lot of typos, and there's a lot of things I don't talk about that I probably should have. And like I said, like in this post, I'm like, it's not a complaint about the game. Thoughts on Spellbreaker considering the spirit resilience tank talk. Yes, it's another one of those things. Like a lot of them are part of the spirit nukers. There's not many characters out there that do consistent spirit damage, and I think a lot of them are currently carries. Like Wraith, for example. Wraith is one of those spirit, like quote unquote spirit character carries, and there probably should be more in the game as well. So yeah, a lot of the time people will just buy like Spellbreaker or something as a carry, and then they just don't get one shot by the spirit nukers, and then they're able to trade them out late game. And that's kind of what they do. But then, like then again, there's not really the same thing for gun. So I don't. It's weird. Like I think there's still a lot of work to do on the game balance wise. But yeah, almost everyone is buying like Spellbreaker in every game, with how much spirit there is flying around. Like I'll often see people buy Spellbreaker and Spirit Resilience, and then spirit characters will have no influence in the late game pretty much, and it has to be purely the gun damage. But then what people do is they buy Metal Skin, and then you just have a bunch of people not dying. And then this is also forcing a lot of people to buy Curse, and then you just have pretty much 6 people running around with Curse, and then that's how they're getting any progress in fights. And I don't know if that is necessarily healthy, but I guess that might just be like something to think about when you're pushing super hard into the late game. But yeah, I would say a similar thing. Spellbreaker is like the spirit, like in the spirit resilience talk is like a thing. But yeah, like I said, no, but like this is not a complaint to the game. I enjoy the game a lot. That's why like I'm making a forum post about it. Like I want to talk about the game, and this might be just one solution of it, and maybe it's just a band-aid fix. But I think there's 2 things that they can do, and it's one, increase this like the investment spikes. So like make it so it's like 7.2k, so people have to invest more into it. Maybe reduce like what it was reduce the base hero ability damage, but increase the scaling. So by investing more into spirit, it'll still do the same amount of damage pretty much. But it won't do as much damage as by not investing anything into it. But yeah, like like I said, I do wish the devs good luck with whatever they are doing. And I mean, they're making a great game, and we're all enjoying it. And the other thing is, there's always going to be two sides of a coin, so it's going to be hard to please everybody. And yeah, I'm going to end it here. So thank everyone for stopping by. This is just a little bit of a rant, and it does kind of talk about the game state. But yeah, I'm not necessarily saying that I should have something to do with the balance or whatever, but if this does make it onto it, like, kudos. But I do love the game. The game is genuinely enjoyable. And they're doing a great job on it. So, again, thanks everybody for watching, and hope you have a great night, morning, wherever you are in the world. Enjoy your day.